Okay.
But we can't control that.
No, we can't control that, but we're here. We're in.
We're here.
And this is the beginning of the podcast. So welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you.
And thank you for inviting me to your lovely home, your studio.
Yep.
So Roisin, how have you been?
I've been all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were only together at the weekend. The last time you was on the pod.
Doing the world record breaking podcast, which was amazing to be part of.
Yeah,
I was saying it was
even for me.
You had a very long day.
I did.
And yeah, it was really great to be part of, and it had, like I was saying, it had just this really great sense of community.
Yeah,
and event. I don't know. I don't know if it's where so many things happen online, and I know obviously it had an online
element to it, yeah,
which was amazing as well, because I tuned in a couple of times when I wasn't there, which was also really cool. But yeah, just that kind of, I don't know if there's as many events these days where you've just got all these people together, all for the same cause, and it's just that the energy was like so good. That's
something that I didn't plan for the day or didn't expect. Obviously I planned to get everyone together and to bring them in, but I really loved this thing that was going on backstage. There was this, that people would come on to do the podcast and then they'd go straight back upstairs and join in with everyone else. And at some points during the day, I could hear singing going on up there.
That's so cool.
And everyone was laughing. And it was just really nice to have that. And people are connecting afterwards.
Absolutely.
Which was one of the big things I wanted to be doing with this podcast. Even though I mainly speak to individuals, I've noticed along this journey that so many of these individuals could help each other out.
Yeah.
And they could come together and they could do things together, and we could grow together and go places together. And that day seemed to happen for a few people.
I think there's something about just being part of the same thing. Like, and it's as simple as that, like, oh, you've been on Martin's podcast, oh, so have I, and that's all you need to get talking, you know.
Yeah, and I had that last night. I went to my daughter's Battle of the Bands last night.
Did they win?
They did.
I thought I saw that online. Awesome.
She's won 4 times now, Battle of the Bands.
Wow.
And that was, they think it's for her band the last time they'll get to play together. So it was special that they won that again.
Yeah.
But so proud of her for her achievements. I'll try not to be that parent that brags too much. Like, my daughter's the best, but she is epic. She is doing amazing things, and
it's brilliant to get those. And I think those things you always remember, having those opportunities at school to like do that stuff, play in a band.
Because they can be quite rare, actually. Those opportunities, can't they?
Yeah. Yeah, so
I didn't get them. I didn't have anything like that.
We did some, but like not as much as happens now. I don't think.
I'd say with the school my daughter goes to, the music department is wonderful.
Yeah,
and
are we allowed to?
We're saying nice things, aren't we? So Mark Hall School have a wonderful music department, and I'm forever grateful for how they shaped and supported my daughter through some difficult times.
Yeah.
Where she was struggling with the rest of school, struggling with attendance going there in the first place, struggling with every other lesson. The music department really embraced her and gave her some direction.
That's amazing. You hear that so much with especially like art stuff, and how supportive it can be, especially when you're not getting on in other areas to have that little sanctuary.
Well, she's not meant to, I think every child, every person has a different purpose in life and a direction of what they're going to do. And I don't think she is anything other than a musician.
Yeah.
She just needed someone to give her a bit of guidance and point her in that direction.
Yeah.
Which they did that at school, and they also did that at Harlow Rock School as well. That was another place that embraced her and showed her some direction. And even she's been to Livewire, which you're part of Livewire, and all of those kind of community events have really driven her forward. And I think music's going to be her life now. Yeah. Which I'm so happy for her that she's got that.
Yeah, it's excellent. Yeah. Brilliant.
How did that come about for you? I know we've kind of touched on this before on the previous podcast. We've gone into a bit of your journey, but was it at school for you that music was something that you discovered there?
Yeah, well, it was before school, really. I mean, music was always a massive part of like family life. At home, my dad's a massive, I call him a musician. He doesn't really play an instrument, but he's like, but to me, like from another musician, he knows he's like a music curator or something. I don't know. He knows so much about music. So from a really young age, I used to hear a massive mix of music as well. So you could go in one day and music was on pretty much 24 hours a day.
Yes, yeah.
Late at night, and but it honestly, and we didn't have a TV downstairs. It was just music.
Really?
Yeah, it was just music all the time.
I love that. It's TV is often the centerpiece of a home. In these days, and
only in like much more recent years did we actually have a TV like down. We had a TV, but it was kept upstairs, so it wasn't the main focal point of the. So I'd always hear all different kinds of music. It could be like classical music, it could be like rock and roll, reggae, Irish folk. My family are Irish as well, so my mum was musical as well, and so there was just a lot of music around all the time. And I think that just being immersed in music, then it doesn't become really a conscious decision, it's just there. And then I think somebody gave us a piano. Someone died.
Okay.
And
you inherited a piano.
We inherited a piano for free. Someone said, "Do you want a piano?" And we just moved into a 4-bedroom council house, so there was space for it. And my dad was like, "Yeah, great." So we got a piano, and it just sat there, and they sort of just saw if anyone played it.
Okay.
And I must have played it.
And you must have given it a go.
I played it, and then one of our family friends called Sarah, she was a piano player. She used to come around and give me some lessons, and then that's kind of where it all started, to be honest.
Do you think? I wonder if there's something in that, having that different variety of music around you as a young age, which informs you at this point of your career, because you are a professional musician now. Does that wide variety of different genres inform what you're doing now at all?
Yeah, I think it does. I think getting a sort of it's great. It's funny. I suppose it's a bit like, I don't want to say it's jack of all trades and master of none, but
I keep meaning to look this up because that's not the full quote.
Oh, isn't it good? Because I don't really like it.
No. The full. I do need to look this up. Have you got your phone anywhere near?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure it ends. The quote ends something along the lines of, It's good to be a master, a jack of all trades.
Okay.
And please, because this is like the second time this has happened to me on a podcast actually that we've discussed this. So having a point of reference.
Let's have a little look.
I might be completely wrong and making this up now. What's the full quote?
I have to be careful now. All I get now is the AI, which I don't want to look at. I don't want to. I want to do my own research. Come on now.
What's the full quote?
Oh, this just says jack of all trades, master of none. No, the history of the term. This could take a while.
We can come back to it.
Yeah, maybe we'll come back to it. But
I thought it'd jump at you, but don't worry. Let's put that aside.
But
essentially, I don't think we should get too hung up on that.
No.
I think it's good to have a variety of different skills in other areas.
And I think music is one of those areas. I think what I was trying to get at there is you can focus on what So when I started playing the piano is one of them instruments as well. You sort of learn it in a certain way, which I think anything that becomes, what's the word, like reductive, makes it's great to focus on stuff, but when it becomes smaller, then you don't get to see everything else.
Yes, yeah.
So like when you learn the piano, and things have changed a little bit now, but if you learn, there's certain exam boards you learn, and you learn pieces from specific time periods, and it's quite classical. So when I learned to play, it was pretty classical, which was great. Don't get me wrong, and I learned absolutely amazing things with that, and I learned to read music really well, and I learned to play really well, and technically great. But then there was, I remember when I was at school, there was an opportunity to play with a band, and we had this really great, I went to Mark Hall School as well.
Did you?
And we had this amazing head of music called Paul Belbin, and for the concerts, he used to get in a working professional band so the kids could play with sort of real gigging musicians. And there was a guy called Phil Anthony who lived in Old Harlow, who was a great musician, and his band came in. I remember Mr. Belbin saying, because I played the piano, so everyone would be like, well, she's great, she can play the piano. He was like, do you want to play keys with the band? And I was like, and I mean, I could play really well, but I was like, I didn't know what I was doing, because suddenly I had like a chord chart, and I was like, and I had to fit in with like, you know, it was the whole shebang. And so then I had to learn to do it in a different way, you know? So I think the more exposure you can get to, and that was because it was a different genre, and it was, you know, it was playing in a band and stuff.
What did that do to you, having at a young age, having those professionals come in and show you the way a little bit? How did that help you?
It was amazing. It just made it feel, more real, like putting some more
because you do this now, don't you? You do this with Livewire. You go in and you're showing the younger generation what it's like to perform, and you don't just teach, do you?
No.
There's something. What can we call it? Like you're kind of like I see you as like a guide, a musician guide.
Yeah, I like to use the term like facilitator. I always have in teaching, because teaching is, you know, you can teach people stuff, and that's sort of, but that's a kind of what's the term?
Sort of
it's less of a collaborative. It's like I'm telling you. It's
just the academic stuff. Just this is black and white.
Yeah.
But you're doing something that reaches outside of that black and white.
without wanting to sound too I don't know what the word is about it, but it's a little bit. It's less, you know, telling someone this is what you do and this is how you do it, than sort of like holding some space for them to figure it out themselves, and maybe guide them a little bit, and obviously like impart your knowledge and show them how to do things technically on instruments and whatever, but letting there be space for people to figure it out themselves, and find what they like and what works for them and what doesn't, you know, because you're just one person at the end of the day, and we learn from like so many things, don't we? We don't learn from one source, so we can't be one source for someone else, I think.
Yeah, it's this whole thing of, it's going to sound cheesy, learning from the school of life as well.
100%.
That's really cheesy, that one.
I know,
but it's true. Like
I think they're for a reason. I did have a line in a song that was like, I can't remember what it was, but it was something like, I know it sounds cliche, but they're cliches for a reason. They happen all the happen all the time.
It does, and I wouldn't be where I am today without going through that school of life. I couldn't have come out of school and do the podcasting thing. I needed to go through all the different steps, trying out all the different things, getting a different taste for different genres of the things that I've been interested in, to be able to pursue the thing that I feel most natural in. But that took me up to 40 to figure that one out for where I am.
I'm still learning every day. Like, it's just constant.
Exactly, yeah.
It's constant.
Yeah.
It's constant. And
actually, that was a huge misconception, that I thought when I leave school, I'm done with learning. And I kind of was, because I was done with school.
Yeah.
But actually, I found a new love for learning in my 30s.
Yeah.
Because
I think that happens,
different, isn't it, in the world?
I was literally saying to somebody the other day that there is something about what you were just saying about learning. And I think someone asked me about my time at university, or did you go to university? I said, yeah, I did. They're like, you know, was it? I said, yeah, like it was good. I had a good time, but 18 to 21 was not the right age for me to be like, I still learned stuff. I got a degree, you know, but I didn't get the most out of it. I didn't, because especially depending what you got going on in life, there's just other things happening, and it's not all, we don't all follow this linear thing of like, oh, you do this at that age and you do this at that age. Like, that doesn't fit. It's not fit for purpose, and it doesn't work for everyone. You know, it works for some people, great.
But from what I've seen, very few.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I, just similar to what you were saying, I did all right at uni. As I say, I was sort of, you know, I had other things on my mind at that age, and life and family situations, all kinds of stuff. And later on, when I started teaching, which again wasn't something I'd never planned to do. So, you know, they tell you to decide what you want to be and what you want to do. I never in a million years I was like, teaching, no thanks. And someone offered me some teaching work. I was like, it was actually my old piano teacher. And I sort of slowly got into it and really started to enjoy it. And then when I was sort of, I can't remember how old I was, but I might have been, I think it was like my early 30s, not obviously, which was like yesterday. But I ended up doing more teaching, enjoyed it. I ended up teaching on a FE course, which is like 16 to 21-year-olds. And then as part of that, I ended up actually doing a PGCE. So I went, because the college I was teaching at, they offered to pay for it, which was amazing. So suddenly I had this other opportunity to study again. And I think part of me, because I felt like I'd kind of wasted my uni, I was like, I used to say like, I could have done so much better. And I was a bit of a coaster at school, I just do enough to get through and not really push myself.
So what was that feeling of wasting it then? Because I know that. I felt I came out feeling exactly the same. Like, what was the point?
I think actually the feeling of wasting it wasn't maybe what I really felt. It's what I think it's what I looked around and I saw people were doing this or they were doing that, or maybe they got success at this, and I was sort of thinking... So
it's kind of the weighing up your life based on how others were moving forward, or the perception.
I think it was the perception of like, well, I should be doing this by now. Like, I'm this age, and why are these people, I don't know, got a mortgage? All these things that people tell you that's what life's meant to be about, right? I sort of remember thinking, why is my life not like that? And why did I not do as well at that? Or so, there was this whole thing, and I still get it now sometimes, but I don't as much, because now I know. Now I can look back and go, there was loads of reasons. There was loads of reasons that you weren't doing that at that time. And like another subject, but like the class system is one of them. It doesn't get talked about enough. There was plenty of things I wasn't doing because I was working class, and I kind of didn't understand that that's why it was taking me longer to do things.
Yeah, because you weren't one of those people that had parents with money that could that could use that money to put you in a certain position, which you see so often, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You see so often. But it's fine. Like, now I understand it. I'm like, I never would have learned all the stuff I'd learned and gone around, like I said, it's not linear. It's like, there's another... It's
like a zigzag spiral and the circle.
Like,
and we go all over the place, don't we?
And I've just written another song about it, and it's like, I took the scenic route. So what if I'm late? At least I've got something to say. Because I think it's taken you a long time to figure out what you're doing or what you want to do, but
my daughter said to me...
That's how it's meant to be.
My daughter said to me recently, Dad, I wish I'd have been a Nepo baby. And I was like, no, you don't. Like really think about what a Nepo... Like, you see these kids coming up on social media that have got all the wealth and money that's handed to them by their parents, the Nepo babies.
Yeah.
And then if you watch their life, in general, they most of the time they turn into car crashes.
Yeah.
Because they have this like moment of everything's given to them. They've got the car, they've got the house, but then they don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
They don't enjoy the experience of life.
Yeah.
Whereas when you see it the other way around, you see people working towards that. By the time that they get there, they do tend to hold on to it for longer and enjoy it they might have 10, 15, 20 years of struggle, but then on the back end of that, they got 15 years of 50 years of joy, potentially.
And I think especially if we're talking about art subjects, there's something to be said for like, I mean, you can start doing it when you're 21, whatever. You've got the money, you're a good, because people can be really good and really talented, and like, that's fine. Like, so I just think if you're really talented and you've got money to do it, you can go out there and do it, but then there's an argument like, well, how much substance is that going to have? Like, I don't want to be like, oh, you don't know anything because you're 21. Like, that's not, I don't believe that either. There was stuff I knew at 21, but there is just something about... But
going back to those like corny sayings and things, life informs the art.
Of course.
So what substance would there be?
Why would we not want that?
Why would we want not that, like that harder journey, or the journey at least?
The journey, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But then that's funny, right? Because I've been thinking about this lately. So, because I've been banging on about working class and people need to have the opportunities, and it's, younger kids, well, everybody needs this opportunity in the arts and all this kind of stuff. So the interesting thing is, because of like the way things have been for me, and now I'm like, well, I'm sort of speaking up about it and going, well, like, this isn't fair, and it should be more level playing field, and everyone should have access to the arts and all of this, which is great. So say that works out for my kids, right? That they do get all the privileges, they do get all the access to the arts. Then I'm like, but hold on, haven't they then become the thing that I'm looking at other people's. Do you know?
Yes, no, I get what you're saying.
Like, this thing of like, you need some kind of balance. Like, I want them to have all the opportunities and privilege, but then I'm like, but do I? Because then they won't have this same passion that I've.
Then they won't. They'll stop working for it.
Right.
So like, we don't want that for our kids. Really, we don't want our kids.
We don't want it to like swing.
No, we don't. We don't want them to have to struggle and for them to go through hardship.
Yeah.
But we do want them to. We do want them to have a journey.
Yeah.
We want them to experience life, and we know that if they just had it all handed to them on a plate, they wouldn't. Yeah. They wouldn't do anything with it. No. Nothing would come from it.
Yeah.
And it's, there's this thing. I keep going backwards and forwards with this as well. Does an artist have to have trauma and be tortured? I'd like to say they don't have to be. That we don't have to experience these bad things in life in able to inform art. But what do you think there? It's a difficult one. Like I don't want a world that we're living in for everyone to be tortured and suffered, and that's the only way they're going to make something.
No, I get it. And again, I've been thinking about this.
And I don't want anyone to be forcing that as well, because I've seen particularly for some reason with musicians, they feel like they have to make their life difficult in order to produce something. Yeah. And that's not healthy. No, forcing negativity.
It's not. I think it's interesting. I think on a personal level, so I can only speak for myself, but the things that have encouraged me, the thing I find so therapeutic about songwriting in the way that I do it now, which I don't know, because I do write songs. Right, okay, hold on. One thing at a time. The music that I release originally, that I write, I treat it it is really cathartic, and a lot of it does come from like traumatic stuff or like really emotional stuff, and I use it, and it's really helpful for me. I use it as a kind of therapy to work through things. So I often say to myself, well, like that was a bit crap, or that was a hard time, but look what's come out of it. And I love that about that whole sort of beauty from ruins aspect. That's the name of my next album, by the way.
That's a good one. Did you come up with that just there and then? No. Oh, right. Okay. Oh, it genuinely is.
It really is
the
name of mine. Yeah, I've got a song coming out soon called Beauty from Ruins, which I know is a simplistic take on it. And then I also go down another rabbit hole, but they're not ruins, so I don't mean that. I just mean building something out of broken stuff, because that's what we're doing, isn't it? That's what we're doing. So I think it can, like you say, inform the art. It doesn't have to be, because I also write songs that aren't like directly related to my personal experience, but I write songs that are maybe a little bit more generic. I write those for like library music, which is like gets used for other stuff. Okay. Which isn't necessarily like songs about my life story. So you can create stuff that's not directly affected by like trauma or whatever, but I think like you say, the nature of creating art does come from these like struggles and
it resonates, I guess. I know in my life that when I've been through struggle, I've often turned to music, or often found music there at the right moment. When you're sitting in the car and you put the radio on, a song can change that mood for you, can't it? If it resonates, or if it has a different tone to how you're feeling, it can
I suppose it's all about connection, isn't it? And that's what it's all about, really. Because if you hear someone talking about something and you think, oh God, I thought I was the only one that felt like that. That's what really connects you. But then that doesn't have to be traumatic stuff. There's also a whole genre of music that people love that's about dancing and you know what I mean? Like, so I guess it can be whatever, but yeah, and I think there is a trend to fake the trauma as well, and like you say, like
they feel like artists feel like they have to have this Van Gogh complex,
and it's kind of dark, but I don't know, it's
but I think when people fake these things, I think in general we see through it.
I think we can see
I come from a place of being an actor, and I discovered with acting that the more genuine I was and the more truthful the more I found myself in the part, the better performance I could could give. And when I tried at the beginning, I always wanted to be someone else. And every time I did that is when I failed, is when I was no good. And it's because I believe no one wants to watch an actor act. And they want to watch that person in that scenario. And some of the great actors that we look at, so I'm just going to go to someone like Marlon Brando. He was always so honest. He wasn't performing. And I think that's the same with musicians. We don't want to see performance.
That's really interesting, because I always wondered that about acting. I feel like I don't know enough about acting to know. That's always been something that I've wondered, because I hear these two schools of thought. It's like, you should always, I hear about people trying to get into character and trying to connect it to their own lives. And then I hear other people say, no, your job is an actor and your job is just to play this part. Like, you don't need to get involved in this part. Like, you don't need it to take over your life. But what you're saying about finding a way to connect and that makes more sense to me, because
and I guess with these things there are lots of different philosophies and lots of different ideas, and I guess it's finding the one that works for you. And then the audience probably don't know that they're looking for a philosophy, but when you choose a performer or an actor that you like, or a musician, it's the one that resonates with 100%. You most, with what they're doing.
100%. I really believe that. And
that's why we don't like that musician or we don't like that actor, because it doesn't resonate with us the way they're doing it.
You're right. And I think I think I said the other day, but I'm really trying, when I've been releasing music, especially last year, I released some music last year that was like really hard for me to do, because it was like really vulnerable. Like, I was being really, really honest. And it was really, really hard, because
that's the hardest thing in the world, is to be vulnerable, right?
People are going to know what I'm thinking. I can't, especially because I've always been a bit of a people pleaser. I'm like, I can't say that. I'm going to offend someone. I'm going to, and actually, like, the things that I've been scared about putting out are the ones that have worked so well for me. Like, and it's like, so, I know it sounds cliche, but it's like so rewarding to be like, when you are brave and honest and
you're leaning into your truth.
Then that's when you connect with people. And also, not only you connect with people, you connect with the right people. You connect with the people, because the only people, if people do go, oh, what are you talking about? It's like, great. You're someone I don't want to connect with, because you don't get what I'm saying, and that's fine.
This is not for you.
And then the people you do find are going to be like, oh, I loved what you said about that, and you're like, oh, I'm so glad that I've done that. So I wholeheartedly agree with that.
My life changed when I lent into vulnerability. It changed so dramatically quickly when I started going, I'm just going to speak my truth. So, and don't get me wrong, sometimes I hold back. Sometimes that conscience comes in. And, there's people to protect. I've got children, so I can't say everything I'm thinking and feeling. But if I can lean into it at least 90% of the time, I do find the right people.
100%.
And my life has expanded. And I also think that connects with truth, that if we're truthful, which is vulnerable to be truthful, then nothing but good comes from it. And even if it's not in the moment, that truth can be very hard in the moment. Long term, it seems to work out.
I think, you're so right, and it's on a lot of levels. I just recently, we were talking about this on Saturday, but I won a rap competition. Sorry, it just makes me laugh. I don't know.
Is that something you never expected to put on the CV? Rapper? No.
It wasn't. I guess, or was it? No, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me, because when I was
now
younger, I listened
to
so much hip hop and I loved it, and it all made sense to me. So it does. I think, I just. It's because people are recognising it. I have a bit of a problem with, being successful. I'm like,
don't we all like?
Anyway.
So tell me a little bit more about that. Actually, what is your problem with being successful then?
Oh, I've just got massive imposter syndrome. Still working through. Don't get me wrong. Like, now, I'm much more accepting of, like, that was good. What you did's good, and it should be recognised, and you're talented, and I'm able to say that to myself a lot more than, but only. That's only grown within the past couple of years. And it's not,
And even once it grows, it's hard to keep it there, isn't
100%,
it?
really hard to keep it there. And it's almost like it's not, it's not as simple as just telling yourself, it's fine, you're good at this, just do it. It's it's that silent critic that is probably, it's been there, but it's been there all these years as well. Like, really silently but loudly, if that makes any sense. And you're almost not, like, I wasn't aware of it for a very long time. I just thought I wasn't doing stuff because I was maybe a shy person or a bit of an introvert, or I gave myself all these reasons. But really, when I really unpick it, I was like, didn't think I was good enough. Like you were saying about truth, I think when you don't say things that you feel for a very long time, for whatever reason that might be, it's like layers of shame get put on top of stuff. And I've learned that, like, shame is like the most powerful, destructive, like, emotion or whatever, whatever you want to call it, or force. And there's just something to be, once you start saying things that are truthful and whatever, that just like, and then you're like, oh, okay, it's all right. Okay.
It's just a thought.
Okay. And, sometimes it's not all right. Sometimes you might come out with things and it feels like the whole world's ended. But then you're like, okay, the world hasn't ended. All right. And actually, the more you do it, the better you feel about yourself as well. Like, in a way that you don't notice. You know what I mean?
When you overcome that. So going back to the world record on Saturday, in the morning, I had this moment I was in the shower, and I had this moment of, people are going to find me out. Yeah. People are going to discover I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm gonna live stream this. I'm gonna be sat there for a day. I'm gonna talk to over 100 people. They're gonna discover today that Martin.
Who do I think I am?
Who do I think I am? Who do they think I am?
All the time.
What the hell is going on here? Like, why am I doing this? Maybe I could hide. Maybe I could just not show up. Maybe
how do I get out?
No, I did. I started planning out scenarios. Yeah. Maybe I'll print out a sign and put it on the theatre door and say we've had a power cut. Like, I can do that. I can say we've had a power cut, and then no one would discover I'm a failure. No one will discover that. Yeah. Like, there's ways out, Martin. There's ways out. And then for me, I've luckily trained another voice to come along and go, shut up. Yeah. That's enough now. Do it anyway.
And that's the point that I've got to now, I think. And that's how I'm finding that I am being successful at things, because I'm able enough now to step in and go, no, come on, that's just, the
negative self-talk. Yeah.
It's just the negative self-talk, and, you can get through it. And I think every time you do that, it makes it easier the next time.
Do you know what helps me? I visualise. Do you remember those old-fashioned, like, Tom and Jerry cartoons? Yeah. Where, like Tom the cat would have, like, a little devil on this shoulder and a little angel on this shoulder. Yeah. I literally kind of imagine that with these voices, that when the negative one is talking and, like, going la 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 la, it's the other one's job to sit there and maybe listen for a moment and then go, you're wrong. Yeah. And you don't need to say much more than that.
No, I think you're right. Even just having enough awareness to be able to step back and listen to those voices is enough.
Because those voices aren't you.
No.
Those voices are just simply thoughts.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. But so it does.
Deep. We're going deep today. Yeah. But it's important though, isn't it?
So important.
And I kind of wish I knew it sooner.
Yeah, I do. And again, like we were saying earlier, I wish I did, and also I don't, because then I wouldn't be. It where just feels like it's the right time for these things to happen, The rap that I was talking about is this working class in the arts one, which so many people have connected with, and I remember sitting here, I was in this room and I recorded it, and I recorded a little video, and I remember thinking, oh, you can't post that, like, what are people going to say? And I was like, then my other voice went, just do it, don't stop thinking about it, just do it. And I did it, and I got such a good response from it. I ended up releasing it with, like, quite a famous hip-hop DJ, and then someone that I've been watching last year, a lot of their stuff, a lot of the artists I've been watching have invited me. From seeing that, they've invited me to go and record something with them next Wednesday, which is like the biggest thing I've done in my career so far. So it just goes
through
to show.
vulnerability, the world has opened up to you. The world has embraced you.
Yeah. Now I've just got to get through. I had dreams last night, and I've been really good at this is going to be good.
The fight doesn't stop, does it? The fight doesn't stop.
Because I'm like, what are you doing? Why do you think you can go and do that? I'm like, stop. They've invited you to come. They wouldn't have asked you if they didn't want you there. It's like I'm going to turn up apologetic. I'm sorry I came. Like, we asked you to come. Stop it.
No, it's true. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. Just because we've overcome it once doesn't mean it won't creep back in. But I think it becomes, for me, I've experienced it becomes easy, a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. You're still going to have these moments like I did in the shower, like you're having dreams at night. Yeah. But you start to learn those techniques of recognise it and deal with it and shut it down. Yeah. Because also we know how beautiful the world can be. Yeah. When we do move forward.
Absolutely. Mm. And it helps to hear that other people feel the same. Yeah. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
There you go.
So talking about how we feel, I'm feeling pretty rough after my... I don't know if you can hear it. Yeah. I can certainly feel it. I did 16 hours of talking on Saturday.
That's a lot.
And so this is what brought me here today.
Yes.
Is because I did this massive challenge of talking until I'd broken a world record, and that lasted 16 hours. And then I actually haven't stopped talking since then. I haven't had an opportunity to rest.
Yep. Still going right now.
So I've done, this is my third podcast this week.
God. Okay.
On top of that. And so speaking is something that's very important to me in my life and my skills for doing my job. And so you said, I bumped into you recently and you said you might be able to help me with that. Yeah. So how can a musician help me protect my voice?
So last year I did, because I've always done a lot of vocal teaching as well, but that's primarily been helping people with like voice technique and, different exercises and stuff. So last year I trained in vocal massage.
Okay. This sounds interesting.
I've always, when I was doing a lot of the studying I did for the voice, though, I'd see bits of it and I'd be like, God, that's really interesting. I've always been quite fascinated with just the body and, it's just amazing, isn't it, really? Mm-hmm. So I trained in vocal massage, which is really funny because when I say it to people, they go, people think that I mean like I'm going to sing at them and then the vibrations are going to like...
I've no idea what to expect, to be honest with you. I've pictured many different scenarios, and then I've also seen this that we're talking over this what do we call this? Not a bed.
Massage table.
Massage table. So I thought at first I thought maybe it's some techniques or maybe you're going to like stick your hands around my throat.
Well, kind of.
All right. Okay.
Well, no, just to say first of all that the vocal massage that I trained in is all very consent based, and you have to it's quite collaborative. Okay. Right? So but it is quite scientific, I guess. So obviously the voice, that's the thing about the voice as an instrument, whereas you can see, like I've got piano over there, I can see my piano, I can see how it's working and all that kind of thing. Obviously your voice is an instrument and we can train it in the same way, but it also lives inside your body, which is like a complicated, you've got the rest, the whole rest of your body, not to mention your brain, your emotions, the way you're feeling, how tired you might be, like all of that. So anyway, vocal massage, it basically can target all of the muscles and structures associated with our voice, which are mainly, because we've got our larynx is sort of here.
Okay.
And we've got all the muscles above it affect it because everything's moving, and some of the muscles below it.
And at this point now that I've strained my voice, I didn't feel or think about that at all, but now I am. Yeah. Now I can feel it, and I can feel it vibrating now.
Yeah. So it's quite easy, most of us use our voices every day, but in a sort of low load kind of way, of what you're used to. But if you do use your voice a lot, like a high demand, like I would say that you're quite a high demand voice user now because you're using your voice and you haven't always done this.
No.
So suddenly you're using your voice, not in a different way because you're using it the same way, but you're using it for like this really prolonged period of time. And just in the same way singers would, Yeah. And obviously your voice can get like anything else if you're I guess it's a good way to think of it a bit like an athlete might have massage, physio and sports massage to be in,
to be in the right shape to do their thing.
Absolutely, because you can easily get fatigue. Like you might be suffering a bit of vocal fatigue. If you're overusing, your vocal folds can get a bit inflamed. You've got, as I say, you've got all of these muscles. You've got your tongue, your jaw, your head, your neck. Everything's connected, and all these muscles are working all the time. So. Yeah. So
take me through the process then from the start. Let's go back to when I knew I was going to be doing some public speaking. On that day, I didn't do any prep. I just went straight in. Tell me I was wrong to do that. Because I feel like I was wrong to do that after experiencing it.
There are definitely things you can do, like preventative measures. A lot of them are our general health. Really does affect our vocal health. So sleep, hydration is like a massive key to vocal health. Or all health, Yeah. So water, hydration, because your vocal folds, they need to be hydrated to work well in the first place. So all of that basic stuff of sleep and being hydrated. And then, there are different things you can learn, like warm-up techniques, and then just stuff to be aware of, like we can get, if we are feeling tired and using our voice a lot, we can get sort of constriction. There's things you can sort of learn to look out for and things you can learn to do.
And on the day as well, so going into this podcast, I started to lose my voice at points. I started to literally feel like I wanted to say something and it just stopped.
Yeah.
It just go.
Yeah.
And is that because I didn't do some of the prep, because I didn't do any vocal warm-ups, because I'll be honest with you, other than having a coffee that morning, that was my hydration.
Well, I wouldn't, I mean, all of those things could affect it. Yeah, so the hydration could be a thing. Also, if you haven't done that length of talking before, and there's all kinds of things could come into it, because you could suddenly realise that, my voice isn't coming out properly, and then you tense up, and then that makes it worse. Or emotionally you might start to panic and be like,
and try and cough it out. That's one that often happens, and I'm assuming that's not a good thing to do.
Coughing, I mean, coughing can be unavoidable, but coughing is really traumatic for the vocal folds, because it basically slams them together. The more, and I mean, I've done it a few times today, like throat clearing and coughing is not that helpful.
Okay.
And when you're using your voice for that length of time, So
the hydration,
is
a big thing, and the not coughing, they're not forcing it.
Yeah, and there's some other things I can show you to do. Can
you show me anything that I should have done at the beginning of that day?
I could show you a cool little warm up with but I might just get a glass of water.
Okay.
Is that all right?
That's great. Yeah, go. Grab a glass of water.
In the meantime, I'm going to give you a straw.
Okay.
Everyone can try this. Hold on.
Can I have a sip of my coffee at this point? Or am I going to be drinking water?
Go on,
okay. Hold on. Okay, so we're back with some straws.
We're back. So I just thought I'd show you a little... this is a great warm-up for singers, speakers. It's just good for your vocal folds.
I'm assuming I'm...
so I'll talk you through.
Okay.
So it's a good warm-up, but it's also just good if you're, like your voice is feeling a bit sore or a bit husky or whatever.
Okay.
This is very popular at the moment, so you'll also find lots of videos about this on
YouTube, yeah.
But all we're going to do is take our straw.
Okay, I got my straw.
This is a real exercise.
Okay,
well.
You're not just making this up.
I just like to see what crazy things I can get people to do, to be honest. It works quite well with singers. You're just like, this will be helpful. And they're like, you should. So no, quite honestly. So all you're going to do is, in the water, is you're just going to blow bubbles, but make noise as well. So
okay.
It doesn't matter what pitch you do it on.
Just like that.
Yeah, so we're going to go into the water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Then you can slide up and down.
I feel like 5 years old again.
I mean, the kids, you're like, the kids had it right. They knew what they were doing.
Didn't they?
I'm just doing my vocal warm-up.
I'm just doing my vocal warm-ups, not making a mess of my milkshake. This was brilliant doing this with milkshakes, though. Blowing bubbles with milkshakes was
Milkshake
fun.
would give you a lot more resistance. So
yes, yeah.
Obviously, we're in there's all sorts of variables, right?
Okay.
The wider your straw, the less resistance you're going to get. So
have you specifically picked these straws?
No, I just had them.
These are the ones that you had, okay.
Because there's straws I just have to hand for demonstrations. And these are quite shallow glasses of water, but the further down you go, the more resistance you've got than if you come up a little bit higher.
You can feel it as well, can't you?
And all of these, and you could just spend a few minutes doing that.
Okay.
And it's really good for your vocal folds.
Because is it something in the vibration? Is that?
Yeah, it's basically, this is from a whole group of exercises known as SOVT, semi-occluded vocal tract exercises. Just a fancy way of saying that your mouth is partially closed.
Okay.
And what happens is there's something called subglottic pressure that the lower the subglottic pressure when you're vocalising, the sort of less stress that is on the vocal fold. So any of these exercises, they offer that bit of resistance. You can feel the resistance. They sort of encourage your vocal folds to close more efficiently.
Okay.
Because that's what we want them to do, is to close efficiently, because the air's coming through, so our air comes through, our vocal folds meet hundreds of times a second, and that's what produces the sound. And we want them to meet really efficiently to get like a clear sound. And often what's happening, I mean, not always, because we can't see inside when it's happening, but often when you've got a husky voice or you're losing your voice, what's happening there is your vocal folds might be swollen and they might not be able to meet properly. So, like you can feel like when you're husky, you feel a lot of air coming through. You're like talking like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And your vocal folds aren't meeting. There's loads of air. It really dries them out. So that's why we start to get that like really husky, airy kind of sound, which is also why you shouldn't whisper. People are often surprised when I tell them,
because that feels like the natural thing to do. That feels like when you've got that sore throat, it feels like if you whisper, then it's not quite so bad. Yeah,
but technically, like the science of when you whisper is your vocal folds aren't meeting because loads of air's coming through.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So it's the equivalent if your vocal folds need to be lubricated to work really well. So the more that you speak in that whispery or really breathy kind of tones. They're not meeting and loads of air's coming through, which is like really drying and can be really stressing on them. So no whispering.
No more whispering.
No more whispering. Yeah. And so, that's kind of fun
nice
exercise. It's quite easy. It's quite, yeah. And if you haven't got water, you can just sing through a straw as well, like,
it's just...
Yeah. And there's all kinds of things. I mean, you'll see singers and actors doing things like rolling their R's, which I can't do very well.
Oh, yeah, shall I try?
Or lip. There you go.
Was that okay?
Yeah. Lip trills.
No, this.
All of these all belong to the same group.
Yes, yeah. Now I've also heard there's a lot of healing in humming.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep. So humming again is classed as a semi-occluded vocal tract exercise as well. So it's just good for your vocal folds. But also there's a lot of studies out now. You'll see a lot of stuff about the vagus nerve.
Yes, yeah.
And the response that humming has on that, because it comes right up near to your larynx and what it does to your nervous system.
Yeah, so I've got a problem with my sinuses.
Right.
I don't know if you noticed, sometimes I get quite red cheeks, and that's my sinuses flaring up.
Yeah.
And someone recently said to me, you should do humming, you should try humming, and it releases it. And I've been trying to hum, and that's all kind of around that kind of same area.
Yeah.
And at times I do notice maybe I need to work on that technique as well.
Humming's good. Another thing that's good, I mean, I'm not a doctor, by the way.
No.
But Dr. Quinn. I've always wanted to be a doctor. My PhD is next, just so I can be called Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. I know.
Brilliant.
I know. It's what I've always wanted. But something that might be good for the sinuses, which is also very good for your voice, which you could have done that morning, or when you started to feel it, if you had time, is steam.
Right, okay.
So like being hydrated when we drink water is brilliant, but water is...
Can I drink some of this, by the way? I'd like a sip of water.
Go for it.
Is that okay?
It's just normal doubles up.
Doubles
you can
up.
Blow bubbles.
And get dehydrated at the same time.
Yeah, so obviously like that sip of water that you just had there, that's not going to go straight to your vocal folds. That's got to go through your body. So the staying hydrated has to be a
constant and prior.
You have to have done it that morning, or like you need to keep drinking water. So
yes, yeah.
But if you wanted something like topical, like in the moment, steam, because obviously it's just water droplets, isn't it? Steam. So inhaling steam is an amazing remedy for any.
Now this might sound silly. What is a good way to do that? Because I'm thinking if I pour steam into hot boiling water into a bowl, put my head over it, I'm going to scald my face. So
you can you can do the old fashioned water in a bowl, which would be probably good for your sinuses as well.
Right. Okay.
You can do that. There are you can buy all kinds of. I mean, not to advertise, but I don't know where my one is, but there's a Dr. Nelson steamer. You basically get special vocal steamers where it's a little pot with a straw. I mean, it looks like something a little bit illegal, to be honest. But
I have no idea what you're referring to.
So, there's basically, you fill it with boiled water. And then there's a straw that obviously doesn't go in the water, but it sits above. And so you can basically, and it's a thicker thing, but you basically inhale the steam. So it's just going directly. Because remember, if you put your head over, the steam's going through your nose and everywhere. But you can get special steam inhalers for your voice where you just pour the water in and then you just inhale the steam like directly onto your vocal folds. So that would help you like in the moment.
Right.
Although they do say you should let it rest for like 10-20 minutes before you start vocalising again, but that would be something you could do if you had a little break or you'd done a podcast, you had another one to do later that day.
Yeah, because this has happened that I've done 2 or 3 podcasts in a day.
Right.
Or even coming away from podcasts, I've gone to events I'm thinking of, like networking events.
Where you have to talk
things,
a lot.
where we're meeting lots of different people and talking. So when I'm in the middle of something there, is there anything practical I could be doing? So let's say I'm at a networking event and then I've got to talk to 10, 20 people that day. How do I look after my voice in a scenario like that?
I think one of the best things I've learned to do, which takes a bit of practice, so it's not quite an instant fix, but once you know about it and you practice it, it's really, really helpful. So that feeling of, when your voice might start to be a bit tired and then you notice that it's like quite hard to get the words out and you feel like a bit strained.
Yes, yeah.
And the more you try, the sort of harder it seems to get and everything seems to hurt a bit. And I think singers are quite familiar with this when they, you might be practicing something at home and you're like on your own and you're like, oh, this feels great. And then you get on stage and you're like, oh, why won't my voice come out properly? So we have like our vocal folds, and then above our vocal folds, we've got, we call them false vocal folds. I think their scientific name is ventricular folds. Anyway, they act in a similar way to vocal folds in that they meet together, but they don't produce sound. They can, but not the same type of sound that our vocal folds do. But they can quite easily constrict. So they can be in sort of like 3 main positions. They can be like retracted, right open.
Yes.
They can be neutral, which they normally are when we're speaking, and then they can constrict. And like we do need them. They constrict for safety. Like they'll constrict when you like strain to do anything to stop things going into your airways. Okay. Right. But what can happen is when we feel tired or nervous, or, when our brain thinks I've got to make an effort to do something, or I've got to tense up, they naturally close over.
They'll close over, yeah. And I guess that's when we hear the nerves, don't we?
Yes.
When we're speaking, because I've had that on public speaking, that I've had a moment of nerves kick in, and then all of a sudden you can hear the trembling.
Right, yeah.
So, exactly. So there is a way to kind of look after that.
I think and that can also be other things like breath, man, all of that stuff if you're starting to get really nervous.
Yes, yeah, because you forget that I need, in a situation that you might be a bit nervous, you forget breathing is part of what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And you hold your breath, don't you?
Yeah.
You go...
There's all sorts of things.
Yeah.
See, it's so complicated. And then
it's so complicated, but once we know it, we can kind of go through the steps, or we can, again, it's that thing of recognizing when things are going wrong. We were talking about earlier, when things aren't going the right way, we can go back to those techniques of recognizing.
Yeah. Which is hard in the moment, because these are all like reflexes that are built in, you know, they're like primitive reflexes.
Yeah, survival technique. Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, the one that I think is really useful for that is you can learn what it feels like to retract your false vocal folds.
Okay.
And there are some things when that happen naturally, they retract at the start of a yawn. So like, you know, when you breathe in and go, can you kind of feel there's like an opening that happens? But it might actually make you yawn then. It's not always helpful, that one, because it makes your larynx go like quite low, and then it can make you yawn. So if you're talking to people and suddenly you're like,
yeah. And then once one person does it, the next person's doing it.
But exactly. But they also retract when you do like a silent laugh. Right. So when you laugh completely silently, if you just try it,
can't.
They're retracted, right? But it's getting used to what that feels like. So you can practice doing a silent laugh, and I mean completely silent, because if you're going like this, they're still a bit constricted because you can hear the air coming through. If that feels weird, you can put your finger in your ear.
Okay.
And if you breathe in and out through your mouth, you know, as if you're asleep or something, and you can hear some of that breath coming out, sort of like that. And then if you change whatever you need to change until it's completely silent, you can't hear your breath inside your head, that's when your false vocal folds are retracted. So you have to take a bit of time learning what that feels like, and then being able to do it on demand. It sounds
like self-discovery, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it kind of sounds like stuff we should know as human beings.
This is the interesting thing about it.
It doesn't sound too complicated. You've talked a lot about the science, but it actually doesn't sound too complicated. And
this is the amazing thing about it. So I've studied a lot of a specific voice model, not technique, it's a voice model called S-Still, which is used a lot. It's used a lot by actors and singers these days. And a lot of her research was about things that we already know how to do. So like, as a quick example, like when you know, babies cry all the time, right? They don't lose their voice, do they?
No.
They could cry for hours. You know, you've got kids. They like cry for hours, and you think
they go all night long if they want. Right. If they want to.
Why do they never lose their voices? Because they just know what to do. Their body knows what to do. And then as we get older and as we go through society, like we're sent so many messages about our voice as well, you know, this ties into other stuff, you know, be quiet, like shush, and use an inside voice, and we sort of, and you know, like when you're a baby and you've got all of these sounds, like all of the mad sounds babies make as well, don't they, when they're like discovering how to speak and how to make sounds, we just lose some of that as we get older, and especially if we get scared of using our voice, like so many of us. I was one of them. I was so scared about my voice and like speaking out, or so many of us are scared of singing. So many people go, I can't sing, and they can.
Well, I didn't even used to think I could speak.
Right.
You know, I'm going to go back 10 years. This is not what I would be thinking I'd be doing at this point in my life. So I really get how difficult that is for people to speak their mind.
Yeah.
And to the point of just not talking at all.
Yeah.
I would be in environments where I go to like a barbecue of friends, say not immediate friends. It's always be when I don't really know people that well, and I wouldn't say a word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I could go through a whole day and not say a thing.
Yeah.
And people would be like, oh, Martin's quiet, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I'd be thinking, I'm not really quiet. I just don't know how to speak my mind.
Yeah.
So how does that tie in then? How can we get through that?
Well, I think it's just rediscovering, right? So a lot of people, like when they learn to sing, you're not learning how to sing, you're just rediscovering the things you could do, but you've forgotten that you could do them, right? Okay. So like that example I gave about the crying baby, like in scientific terms, according to the research that Joe S-Still did, when we cry, our larynx tilts forward and our vocal folds stretch out, and that's what we need to make high notes. So a lot of people that I work with, they struggle with high. They're all right singing around this speaking level, like la 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 la. You know, as soon as it gets a bit higher,
and it starts to just disappear. Yeah.
And if you and like people who've had lessons with me, they'll laugh because I go on about it all the time. I'm like, you just need to cry, because like when we cry, our larynx tilts forward and stretches out our vocal folds, and then you can get nice, clear, high pitch sounds, right? And we all know how to do it. It's just that we don't go around going, ooh, no. You know, we just don't. Like, or we get, you know, people think they've got to hide when they cry, or you making these weird sounds. We're just not used to doing it. And so much of the people who can sing, the people that we go, oh, they can sing, are just people who are not scared to like experiment with what their voice does.
Yeah. This is taking my mind to that place of those external factors as well. So for me, I've always actually wanted to sing. I've always had a feeling that maybe I can. But for me, unfortunately, someone close to me would often say to me, you can't sing. And they would tell me I can't sing. And they'd tell me it would be an embarrassment if I did. Because every time I explored and went a little bit into that, it didn't work.
Yeah.
And so this other voice was saying, no, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Yeah. And then I started to believe it.
Yeah.
But now I'm in this place where I'm feeling more freedom with the way that I speak and think. I'm thinking today, actually, that maybe I should start exploring singing again.
Yep. Yep. And it's not, you know, as much as I...
Or am I a lost cause at this point? At 40?
I mean,
at 40, and so far my experience has been, it's not enjoyable for others to hear me sing.
But so what? Like, even if it's not, like, who's it for? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who's it for? Yeah. Like, really? Why do we sing? Like, it feels good to sing, right? Even if you just sang for yourself and not for anyone else, like that's still valid.
But even then, I lose confidence doing that. So,
yeah.
You know, like if I'm in the car by myself and I'll feel that, you know, if the good song comes on and I know it and I'll feel that need to sing. Sometimes I'll start singing and then I'll stop myself.
Yeah. You just got to keep doing it. It's like we said earlier about the vulnerability about and being brave. Yeah. But you do need the right. I think that you need the right environment to do it in as well. And
I was in the wrong environment before with the negative voice.
Yeah. Yeah, and so many people are, so many people. If you think about the modern day and age, or not even the modern day and age, just how it's always been, if there isn't a place where people do like community singing and no one's judging each other, and which, you know, these days everything's you know, I know you were saying the Battle of the Bands thing's great, but like when arts start to become a competition and you've got the X Factor and you've got people, you know, judging each other all the time, if there isn't space for people to just find out what their voices can do, like it is a bit like if you don't lose it. You can't.
I think with the Battle of the Bands thing, it's kind of like just an excuse to get everyone together, really. Yeah. Because I was there last night at that thing just thinking, isn't this amazing of all these kids coming together and having a night to perform? Yeah. Like that is the real win, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Absolutely, yeah. And I just think it's never a lost cause. I always say everyone can sing. People laugh at me. They're like, oh, it's like, well, you haven't heard me. I'll be the exception. But it is, you know, if you've got a working voice, which a lot of us have, there is absolutely no reason why you can't sing. And you will find that the people who, like I said, the people who we think can sing are just people who've experimented more.
Yeah,
it is.
And I love that thing you said as well about who we're doing it for.
Yeah.
Like, do I really need an audience?
No, but then also, when do you get the opportunity to do it? Because, like you say, the environment. So it's like, are you going to do it at home? No, because unless you live on your own, and even when you live on your own, you might be like, oh, the neighbours are going to hear me. Most of us live with other people, and you don't want to disturb them, or you feel too vulnerable to sing in front of them. And then where do you go? You sing in your car and then like you think someone's looking at you. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like there isn't, unless you go, you know, which is often why people who, you know, if you belong to like a church, like why do you think gospel singers are so good? Because they're at church all the time singing and just letting it out. Yeah. You know, like the environment you're in, or if you're at a school where they encourage loads of singing, that can be really, really good as well. Yeah. But you do need to be somewhere to try it out. You know, you do, which is why like joining choirs is great.
So what should I do then at this point in my life where I'm like, actually, do you know what? There is a little whisper there that's saying to me, sing. There is a little longing to do that.
I mean, the business person in me would say you must get a vocal coach to coax it out of you. But which is always helpful. It's always helpful if you are gonna, you know, sing a lot, or especially if you're finding it difficult. It is helpful to have someone there who can guide you a bit and give you the confidence.
Take you through the steps,
Yeah, facilitate it. But in all honesty, all you really need to do is find yourself a space where you can just make noise and try not to judge yourself and just try stuff out, even if you don't like at first what it sounds like or feels, because there's so many other messages we've got in ourselves as well, like, or maybe I'm not supposed to sing like that. Well, who told you that? Like, you know, or there's so many things.
I'm feeling like maybe this conversation, I'm discovering within this that maybe music and singing is the way to unlocking that vulnerability thing, that breaking free.
I think so.
That maybe if we can find a place to start there, even like you say, alone, if we can push ourselves through it, then that freeness will become just available to us and part of our lives.
Yeah, but it's not. It's easier said than done, isn't it?
No, it is hard.
But I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, especially with voices and singing, because it's so attached to who we are and our sense of self. And like I was saying, although those things sound, you know, all those we talk about a lot about, well, there seems to be a lot more talk now, a lot more understanding about the things you go through as a child affecting you, you know, and those things that we think are just normal stuff, like, you know, be quiet, stop making that stupid noise, kids at school. And I know, like, we couldn't be in an environment where everyone could just shout all the time. Like, it's not manageable, is it? But at the same time, there's got to be a space because for it. When you got to remember, like, when with everything, and this isn't just this, like, this is so many things for children, is like, we understand why we're telling children to be quiet in a situation. We understand that. More often than not, kids don't understand why. They internalise the things and go, it's something, I'm doing something wrong. There's always that feeling, you know, oh, I'm being told to shut up, I'm doing something wrong. I'm being told not to make that noise. And I did it to my kids. Yeah, like, that's what I mean. We all do it. I'm literally going back there now. I'm like, I remember saying to my kids, like, they grew up with a mum that wasn't well, and their mum would be asleep a lot of the time, and so I would almost force a quiet house. I'm so pleased my daughter's broken free of that. Or, do you know what? Actually, I think if I really think about it, I think she's breaking free of that. Yeah. That she is fighting her way out of those years when I used to say to her, be quiet. Yeah. Because she was desperate to be noisy. Yeah. And to look after her mum, I would say, you can't be noisy. Yeah. You have to be quiet today. Yeah. Like, and I wouldn't always say it as nicely as that either. No, of course not. You know, it would be, you know, sometimes it would be, shut up. Like, that's a perfect example, because that, like, that was a situation that had to be managed like that. Yeah. And but then, which is fine, you know, because that's what life's like. But I guess there's like, we could then connect it and be like, okay, fine. So that's why, you know, so people knew that it's not that they can't sing or they're rubbish at talking, or but probably or they actually had to be quiet throughout life. It was just for that moment. Yeah, exactly. And then being like, okay, well, that was then, and maybe I can do it differently now, and I can, you know, find my voice. I wonder now, would she be doing singing if it wasn't for that? Because, like I say, the way she sings is almost like she's fighting. It's almost like this battle, and she's fighting herself out of it. And I'm not being quiet anymore. It really is like that. And the performers coming out and the entertainers coming out with that. No one's going to silence me. And maybe it's given birth to a rebellious side. There you go. Which I love. Yeah. I love that she's rebellious at this time, and she's going to say no to the system. Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's hard to manage as a parent. That. Oh, absolutely. I'm like a rebellious teenager. I have to remind myself all the time. My daughter's 9, and I've got a thing. I released a song last year called Good Girl Syndrome, which is all about society's messages to women in particular. Patriarchy affects everyone negatively, by the way, not just women, men too. Yeah. But it was all about those messages we send to girls of like, be nice, be quiet, be polite, blah blah blah. You know, do what you're told, and how damaging it can be later on in life. Yeah. And so I try and teach but then of course my daughter's like, well, I don't want to do that, and you told me I don't have to do anything I don't want to do, and I'm like, didn't I? Yeah. Oh shit. You go for it. Yeah, but it is if you I want my children to be like that. I don't want them to be quiet in the system. I don't want them to be a sheep following the herd. I want them to have their own voice. Getting through the teenage years with that philosophy, with that mindset, I look forward to that. Is has had its challenging moments. But for me personally, but I think
when they move into adulthood, I think it's going to work out really well for them. Yeah. And I don't worry about them as adults because of that.
Exactly. Yeah, they're going to have all the tools they need.
Yeah. That's the hope anyway.
Yeah.
Or some of them at least.
Not all of them, because they still need to find some struggle in their art. And
Exactly. Yeah, it can't be too easy for them. So let's go back to the helping me out then.
Yes.
Because I came away from that. I apologise.
No, it's all right. On a tangent.
So where am I at now then?
Yeah, so I think what we're going to do is some vocal massage, aren't we?
Okay.
Shall we?
You're the boss, you tell me.
So this is, so what I propose, so obviously you're struggling with your voice now after doing all
I can
that
literally feel it vibrating now. I can I can feel it there, and I don't know if you can hear it. I don't know if you can hear that kind of vibration.
Yeah, huskiness.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just try some stuff. There's some things I can do on the sort of like neck, head. I can talk you through it as we go along. It's all optional as well.
Let's go for it. I'm open. Let's explore this.
So what I would propose, because of like what you're suffering with, is some just sort of like try and get a little bit relaxed.
Okay.
And then there's some sort of head and neck, more like broad stuff that we can do. There's a couple of moves that focus a little bit more on the jaw.
Okay.
Because I noticed on your questionnaire you said you also grind your teeth.
Yes.
Which is something that a lot of people suffer with.
Do you know, when I say I grind my teeth, I've never noticed it.
Yeah.
I've just had it as a complaint of people that sleep near me.
Wow, okay. Yeah.
Of people that have been around me while I'm sleeping.
It's so common, and that can often affect us, like in our jaw. And sort of head and neck muscles
I do have achy jaws.
Right, yeah. So there's some moves that can go on the jaw, because all of these. There's also your tongue root is like a massive place where where tension can be held. There are some moves in vocal massage that are like on the tongue and in the mouth, but they're optional. We'll see what you think. And then also we do work around the larynx.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the main thing with vocal massage, because these are vulnerable areas as well, and often if people haven't had vocal massages before, like I hadn't until I started training in it, some of it's places you haven't even really touched yourself before.
Okay.
Realised that you
interesting.
could, So
And I get, and when you say these things, I think I'm open to being a guinea pig for anyone watching, because sometimes these things can sound a little bit scary.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm up for this. Let's explore this. Let's find out what happens. So we'll reposition some of this podcasting stuff.
All right. And we might hear a change in your voice afterwards. Yeah. Can't promise it, but we might.
But we might.
Like,
we'll see what happens. This is exciting. I'm excited.
All right. Excellent.
Here we go. Okay.
So we might not fit in everything I would fit in a normal, because I would normally take like 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
But we'll do whatever we can fit in the time.
We'll fit in what we can fit in the time. So I'm going to lay down here.
Okay, so if you lay with your head at this end, and then before you lie down, I'll just tell you what I'm going to do, so it's not like a surprise.
Okay.
I'm going to move my chair over to this end.
Right, yeah.
And normally we might spend a bit more time like relaxing into the...
Relaxing in.
Mm-hmm. So as soon as you lie down, just try and relax. Easier said than done.
Okay.
And then what I'll do is we'll just start with like a bit of a stretch. So some of these movements are like quite long and slow. So I might just spend a little less time than I normally would. But I will literally just like stretch out this area a little bit.
Okay.
There's a move that lifts your head right up like this to stretch forward. If you can just say if all these sound all right.
Yeah.
And then I move on to these muscles. I don't know if you've ever touched these muscles before. They're called SCMs.
Okay.
Along here.
Yeah.
Which is like often have lots of trigger points. And then I'll move on to the jaw. A little bit of jaw, and then we'll mostly do the larynx because that's where the stuff is. And we probably go.
And I guess that some people might be a bit nervous if you put your hand around the neck, because that can feel quite. That's very. We talked about vulnerability, and
really
that's very being vulnerable, isn't it? Allowing.
And some people don't know until you do it.
So that kind of, because as soon as I put my hand there, you can, you don't want that, do you? That's That's a choke, isn't it?
No, so we always say, so if anything at any point feels uncomfortable or painful, because it's not meant to be painful really either. Okay. So, well, I mean, there can be a bit of, I mean, just not like, oh, you know, if you go for massages and you're like, no pain, no gain. It's not meant to be like that. So, if anything feels painful or just not nice or just uncomfortable, you can just tell me.
Yeah, I can't imagine that being that way with you. But
even if for you, suddenly if you're like, oh my god, this feels a bit weird, like just say, and then we just find something else to do. Yeah. So you can just tell me by saying it or doing a hand signal, whatever you like.
Okay. Or a secret word.
Yeah. What will you do? Just say.
I'll just say.
Fine.
I'll just say.
And then in the same way.
Code word.
It's up to you.
What's a good code word?
Vulnerable. Tap out.
Vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
If I say vulnerable, that's
okay. And then we're out. But then if anything feels particularly good, like sometimes, especially along here, we find points that you can feel, and they sometimes refer pain elsewhere. So if you feel anything like that, let me know, and then I'll like stay in that area a little bit.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll just see what happens, shall we?
Okay.
So I'm going to put my chair here, and then
I'm going to lay
when
down.
you're ready to, you lay down, put your head this way. Perfect. And then you're just really slightly wonky. So if I just that's good. That's good. Right, and as I said, just relax as much as you can.
Where should I put my hands? Just there?
So wherever you're comfortable, there's absolutely fine. So I just realised my hands are quite cold. That's no good, is it? Right.
Oh yeah, they are a bit.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sure
hold on.
I'm sure they are.
I think I'm one of them people like cold hands, warm heart.
Yeah, I've always got cold hands.
It's the circulation.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah. So just give me your head. You just relax into my hands. That's it. Just stay there. I'm just going to relax here for a minute. So maybe you can just also just think about your breath, and you don't have to change anything, but if it feels good to just slow it down a bit, and just relax your head and shoulders as much as you can. Just checking I'm not going to knock anything behind me. So yeah, the muscles, just so you know, these muscles that I was talking, I might just have to move your t-shirt down slightly, is that okay?
Yeah, good.
Just like that. So like, they're these muscles, they're called SCMs, and they run from here, they run right up, and they join in around the back here.
Okay.
So sometimes...
It's funny, I often get headaches around
that. So all of these areas can be, especially here, this bit here, it's where those muscles sort of join in. Also, I can talk as much or as little as you like.
No, you're talking through.
I'm a bit of a talker, you see. The guy I trained with was brilliant. He was so quiet though, like so silent. He could just, and I was like, I'm a terrible habit of just wanting to talk all the time.
Well, we are doing the podcast.
That's true. Okay.
So
we can either leave all of this in as it is, or you can always fast forward these bits. So yeah.
But tell me about what you're doing.
Yeah. So round here, this is like your occipital bone. Around here, there's the base of the skull. We've got so many muscles that all meet in there. So often, you know, you can get headaches and stuff around there.
And this is, I'm really enjoying this actually, because this is often a place where I've got a lot of tension.
Yeah. So this isn't like an official part of the protocol, but I always find it's really helpful just to connect with all these places. And there's also some good like pressure points just underneath, like in here, that can sometimes be tender. Just let me know if they're if anything's painful.
It's funny, I'm feeling, you're pushing there, but I'm feeling a bit of like pressure there.
So a lot of these you'll find, especially with like trigger points, they sort of refer pain elsewhere. Which can be helpful if you find one, you can just sort of stay there a bit. So as I said before, we've only got about half an hour, so I'd take a bit more time normally, but this will still be useful. But I'm going to take you into a bit of a stretch.
Okay.
Where I'm just going to move my chair back actually, if I can, without knocking anything. And I'm just going to lift your head.
I already feel quite relaxed.
Do you? Good. I'm just going to take, if you just give me the weight of your head, and I'm just going to lift it. Does that feel alright?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to stay here. And then if you can, you can stay in this stretch for about 5 minutes if you really want to. It could be really helpful. But I'll just stay here for a couple of minutes. If it's comfortable. Is that comfortable?
Yeah, it's not normal.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel like
It's
a
not
normal position, but it's not painful.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give it a little chance then.
However, what's strange, I was just thinking, I might fall asleep.
Yeah, you could fall. I mean, it's fine if you fall asleep. I might have to stop massaging you if you fall asleep, because then there's a matter of consent.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what did they do to me while I was asleep? Which my brilliant tutor, who when I went to train vocal massage, we would learn all the science and then practice on each other. We were only a small group, so there was 3 of us and the tutor, and he was absolutely brilliant. But every time, not every time, but there were a couple of times where we would try the moves out on each other and he would just fall asleep. He would start drifting off. And then we were in that awkward thing. It was like, no, somebody wake him up. But it was useful, because then there was that conversation. Well, what do you do if somebody falls asleep? Because
it's going to happen.
Yeah, because also people, like we talked about earlier with our, when we were talking about the voice and stuff, when people are having problems with their voice, it might be something physical. You also have to remember that how much our state of mind, when you filled out that questionnaire for me, there was there was a couple of questions just sort of about
how are you
stresses
feeling?
In life and whatever, because all of that can really affect your voice as well. And so for some people, now I'm just going to start to move, but just don't just let me carry on having all the weight of your head. Yeah, when I come out. I'll just stop talking for a minute. Some people also just don't get a chance to lie down in life and just and have a relax.
And do you know what? I think that's me a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is like quite a unique.
Right, so
unique
that
moment.
can also be really helpful, apart from all of the actual massage. I'm just going to turn your head to one side. Apart from all of the massage part of it, that can also be really helpful, just to lie down and have a rest.
And do you know what? Sometimes I think that I just need to stop.
Yeah. But it's hard to, isn't it?
Oh,
Unless
it
you've
is,
got an
because-
excuse to, unless someone's saying to you, like, come and lie down and have a vocal massage. So I'm just going to lift your head very slightly and turn it back. Yeah, so this muscle here that I'm just grabbing hold of now, which may feel strange. This is the SCM. It just runs from here right up. So, does that feel alright? Does it feel a bit strange?
It's quite tender.
Is it?
It's okay.
Yeah. What about the sort of pressure that I'm holding it with? What would you say on when you say it's a bit tender, and on a scale of like 1 to?
It's not like I want you to stop. I'm not like
Fine.
that's too much. But
Yeah.
It's not a normal thing that you're holding on to.
Yeah. I feel like I didn't even know these muscles existed.
No.
And these muscles are so involved with, well, everything. Lots of head turning, really in close proximity to the larynx, so they often affect what's going on with our voice. And we can find that they have sort of trigger points along them. So there's certain areas that might feel a bit of pain or...
And this is a very vulnerable place to be.
Yeah.
This is that's starting to be to that point of like, you don't just allow people to put their hands on your neck, do you?
Yeah.
In fact, in the past, I'd have said no.
Yeah.
No.
It is a very vulnerable area. Because we have to remember as well, when we're dealing with our larynx, like, obviously the larynx is involved in talking, but it's, you know, it's a survival mechanism to protect our airways. So it is the most vulnerable part of our body, really.
I think as well it helps it being like, you're very good at building relationships with people, aren't you? And allowing people to feel comfortable when they're in your presence.
I hope so.
And so, well, you are. And you know, I've seen other people around, like, I feel comfortable with you. I've seen other people around you, and this is a.
All right, I'm going to just turn your head this way as well. Sorry, keep having to just fold the top of your t-shirt
it's
down.
quite
there
a
so
high t-shirt, isn't it?
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, so often these are just muscles that we've never even thought about before. But you can also do this to yourself, by the way. Once you can find these muscles, grab hold of them, just sort of give them a gentle squeeze, and that can be helpful as well. When you were talking earlier about, you know, you can do some of these as self-massage moves that can be helpful.
I can almost feel also like a bit of a release with like the. I don't know if it's phlegm the right word, but I can almost feel like something like almost being flushed.
Yeah, that makes sense. These are really connected. Sometimes when you're pressing on these, you feel it. You get some referral like up here or into your ears and stuff as well.
Is there any danger in what you're doing? Is there any points around
So yeah, there is actually. There is. In your just close to where I was, you've got there's two arteries called carotid artery that run up here, and they take I think it's about 80% of the blood flow to your brain.
Yes, yeah.
So you do have to be careful. So if you were doing this to yourself, for example, you'd feel it straight away. There's a really strong pulse in your neck. Right. So if you sort of squeezed and then you could feel the pulse underneath your hands, you'd just move. You'd just move your hands away. Because if you held it for any sort of prolonged length of time, you could stop the blood flow. So, and obviously you have to be careful around the larynx, because it all hangs off the hyoid bone, which is what often breaks in strangulation, and it's a free floating bone that's kind of got, if you just look at my hands, it's like this, so it goes round like that, and so you can squeeze, you know, it's got a risk of breaking if you squeeze it.
So there is a point of there's a reason you've done training.
Exactly. You need to know where everything is. As long as you know what to avoid, you know, anything else. I think it's funny, once you know where to avoid, you can be a bit more, what's the word? Not rough, it's not what I mean, but...
Is it kind of, you can be more free around the areas?
Yeah. You know, often like people don't like to touch their larynx, but as long as you know that you're not going to harm yourself, then it'll be alright. Right, I'm just going to do, this is a slight move on your jaw, but if it drags on your facial hair and it's sore or anything, just let me know. This sort of targets so these muscles that you probably get loads of work from you grinding your teeth. all right on your hair, on your beard?
Yeah.
Is that all right? Yeah. So with your jaw as well, you've got a big joint here, the TMJ, which you may not have heard of.
No.
If you just open your jaw, yeah, that's it, and close. Good. Open again. Feel in there, is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good, and open again, nice and wide. Yeah. And then just sort of relax, but don't close, if you know what I mean. Just sort of, yeah.
I can definitely feel some kind of release.
Can you? Yeah. That joint there is, our jaws are so strong and hold so much tension. It's another one you can actually do for yourself. It's just finding that
points.
Yeah, so if you open your jaw, you can find that there's a bit that you dip into, and just massaging in there will release off so much tension. So I'm just going to do one now. If you clench your teeth for me, yeah, feel that? That's your masseter muscle, and just relax and clench again. Yeah, good. And relax. And clench one more time. Yeah, relax. I'm just going to sink into this, and what you can do, if you slowly open your jaw, the more you open, the more it will stretch. Yeah, so then you just do as much as feels comfortable. That's it, relax again. Give us another bite. Yeah, good. And relax. Right, so just do that again, open again. Yeah, you can start to open now, that's it. Is that painful? Is that alright?
It's alright. It's different. It's not a normal sensation.
Yeah, probably none of this is normal. Give us one more clench. Clench one more time. Yeah, good. Relax again. Just relax. Yeah, good. And then just one more time, opening. Right, I'm just conscious of time, so I'd really like to move on to the larynx stuff.
Okay.
But if we had more time, then I would do, unless you want me to do a quick tongue stretch.
Let's try it.
Yeah? I'll tell you what we'll do. If you stay where you are, and so I'm just going to put, I'm going to use this is just a gauze, right, to grip your tongue.
Okay.
Okay? Because otherwise and I'm going to put gloves on as well.
Okay.
Right? Just to be my black gloves. So this is just stretching the tongue root. We'll give it a go.
This does sound interesting. Where did the podcast take you today, Martin? I had my tongue stretched.
My tongue stretched. So when I first...
And how do you feel about doing this to people? Are you do you feel at ease with this? Does this feel...
I've had to get used to it. I've really had to get used to it because obviously it's...
Part of the technique. It's part of the...
Yeah, and I think we're not always used to, like, I don't know if we're a society that's used to touching a lot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some societies it's really normal just to touch and be tactile.
And some people don't even want to like a hug, do they?
Exactly.
And things, you know.
So when you're like, can I hold your tongue? That's a bit like...
So you're actually going to hold my tongue now?
If that's all right.
Let's do it.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is just hold on to your tongue. For a minute, I'm just going to hold it because that's a weird enough sensation as it is. And then when you're comfortable, I'm literally going to pull it and it will stretch. Okay, but you can tell me what feels comfortable. So it will stretch quite far without any injury occurring.
All right.
So you can let it stretch. When you feel like you've had enough, maybe you can just put your hands up or give me a thumbs up.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you reckon? A thumbs up?
Yeah.
Or maybe a stop?
Is there any danger to this?
No.
You can't pull the tongue out of the head?
I'm not strong enough.
I don't know.
No.
Is that a thing?
No.
Yeah, okay.
No. So whatever you're comfortable with.
Go
okay?
for it, yeah.
So I'll just get you to... So if you just stick your tongue out, just point it to the ceiling. Yeah, so sort of go straight up to the ceiling. And I'm going to put this over your tongue, right? So I can grip it.
No.
All right, okay. So now just... I know it's really hard, but just relax. Try and relax a little bit. Your tongue, you will find, will just want to... You can feel it just wanting to move and sort of like dart about. Because our tongues aren't really used to relaxing. I'm not doing anything at the moment, so don't panic. I'm just going to put my hand there just to make sure I've... There we go. All right, you cool for me to just give it a stretch? Okay, so I'm just start stretching. Just going to start stretching it. It is weird. So you give me like a stop sign away when you've had enough of a stretch. Yeah? Do you want me to stop?
I'm a bit freaked out by it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like nothing to do with you.
No, I know.
That's just such a weird...
I know.
Like it almost feels like you're going to slowly take out of...
Yeah, I know. And it does, it moves a lot more than you think it's going to, doesn't it? Yeah. And
there was nothing painful in it.
No, but just the sensation of it moving. So if you wanted to, you could stay there and move it, but we'll leave that one.
Okay, that was interesting.
Right.
Yeah, like I say, no pain involved.
Yeah, it's just a weird sensation.
Just a weird sensation.
Right, I'm going to get you to sit up on the... If you sit round on the edge,
okay.
Just relax. So I'm just going to do some moves on your larynx. Okay. Alright? So again, you can tell me to stop at any point if it doesn't feel comfortable. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a wiggle, first of all. Have you felt your own larynx before?
That little bit there.
So we're here. Alright? So again, if anything feels... Alright, I know you might be able to hear that feel of sort of slight clicking. That's really normal.
Gonna burp.
Yes, fine.
Where's that come from?
All of these things happen. Honestly, they do. Yeah. So again, all jokes aside, if any of this feels uncomfortable, I can just stop. So just see if you can just relax a little. Yeah, there we go. Right, so that's just your larynx moving there. But also if we have more time, I'd go into this. This is your sort of tongue root in here. And that often gets really tense.
These are all places you wouldn't normally...
I know, exactly.
Take
care of.
So
if we had more time, I'd sort of go in there a little bit more. Yeah, exactly. You're right, but so here we are at your larynx. I'm just giving it a bit of a wiggle. And then I'm just feeling around for your hyoid bone, which is where everything sort of hangs out. quite mobile, you see.
Mm.
It moves more than you think, doesn't it? These really small, tiny movements, but they feel, you can feel it quite a lot, can't you?
Yeah.
They're really sort of tiny.
Questions come to me. So whilst this is linked to you being a musician and understanding music and the body, do you think music is connected to this in any way? Do you think, because I could feel a rhythm there. This isn't normal massage, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. Think about that one. Right.
Yeah. I'm actually feeling really relaxed, actually, especially with that, what you was doing there, that small movement.
Yeah.
I could almost fall asleep into your hand there.
Yeah. Yeah, so some of these are like really tiny movements, but like really effective. I might just get you to. There's a move that's really good for the discomfort. So the sort of discomfort you're feeling when you speak. Can you sort of Can you sort of show me? You know, does it feel like a certain area?
It's inside.
Yeah.
But already I'm talking, and that vibration is.
Has it got better already?
Yeah, I'm not hearing it like a.
It's
almost like an internal noise.
Yeah, yeah.
An internal vibration.
Yeah. I'm just gonna put some pressure here. You never know if it's too much. It does sound clear already, actually. Idea that can you see yourself in the mirror now?
No, I can see you.
Okay. Ideally, you'd see yourself in the mirror so you could see what. Otherwise, it's a bit menacing. Me being behind you.
No,
and you're like, what's she doing to me? As I say, I'd do more of this. If there was time, I'd do more. But hopefully, this will be helpful anyway.
Do you know what? I think I'm going to book you in for a weekly session because I feel the difference already, and it's not just the difference in my voice feeling more relaxed, but I feel more relaxed.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to get you to swallow if you need to. What I'm going to get you to do is go to do a yawn, but sort of when you get to the top of the yawn, if you can just sort of hold it there. So go to yawn, that's it, and then just stay there if you can. And then relax. Yeah, good. Yeah, let's do that again. So go to yawn. That's it, really big yawn, big yawn, big yawn. Yeah, hold it there, if it's comfortable. And then relax. Let's do one more, if that's alright. Last thing. Alright, biggest yawn you've ever done in your life. Yeah, hold it there. Good, and then relax. Don't feel like more space.
No, it felt like you was like channeling it.
Yeah. How's that?
Amazing. Feels really good.
Does it?
Yeah, I feel really relaxed in general.
Good.
I feel that vibration has gone.
Yeah.
That I was having before.
You might find it sounds a bit lower. Often our voices sound a little bit lower after a vocal massage.
Do you think so?
A little bit, but it sounds clearer. It does
definitely
sound clearer.
That vibrating that I was getting from there and that was resonating through my skull has gone.
Good.
I also feel like I can have a sleep.
Okay. Can you? Can you go home and have a sleep now?
That would be nice.
Do you want me to leave you here?
Leave me here. But wonderful.
All right.
Amazing. Thank you, Roisin.
You are welcome.
Yeah. Just as any advice for me before I leave then? Is there anything I should be doing to look after myself past here, look after my voice?
Come back and have another vocal massage.
Okay.
We'll do a longer one.
Yes.
We'll do a longer one.
Mm-hmm.
Just the stuff that we were talking about, the hydration, the sleep.
Yeah.
How are you sleeping?
Yeah, sleep's generally okay. Once I go to sleep, I'm a bit odd like that. I can sleep anywhere.
Right.
So I'm an odd case.
And then you could do, you could think about doing some of the old straw warm-ups. If you know you've got a big day of talking. Yeah. To do a bit in between.
So maybe I'll try these things that we talked about earlier, and then we'll come back and we'll do like a follow-up.
Yeah. And that silent laugh thing, you can practice doing the silent laugh thing.
And I think that's good for you as well to do that, isn't it? It's like this smiling and laughing, it releases some happy endorphins.
Absolutely. And if you can think of it like a bit of a, because once you know how to do that one, you just can do it on the spot. Yeah. Once your voice is starting to feel like a bit, you just go, and no one has to know you're doing it. Once you've mastered it, you don't have to show it on the outside. Right. Like, I'm not doing it now I'm doing it. You know what I mean?
Just know.
Yeah, but it's just getting used to what it feels like, isn't it?
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you
so much. This has been really interesting and
good.
Really beneficial as well.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Good. Please.